going to title it Intro to Integers because that's what we're going to start talking about. And then we are going to always date every page. And today's date is 8/28. The year's 20. I just think it helps keep us nice, neat, and organized. Now, if you forget the date, I'm not going to yell at you, but there it is. Got it? Does anyone happen to know what an integer is? Like, I say the word integer, what the heck is it? Luke?
Is it a guess?
That's fine.
Adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting negative numbers.
Okay, you're on the right track. Okay, so we don't need to worry about the operations at all. But an integer is negative numbers, but it's also then what? If it's negative numbers, it also has to be positive numbers. You can't have negatives without positives. So it is going to be your positives and your negative numbers. Does that make sense, you guys? Okay, so an integer is any number that is positive or negative. Now I have a question. Bless you. Is like 4/5. Is that an integer? Why not? It's not a whole number. So an integer has to be a positive or negative whole number. So we're going to write and it must be a whole number. Which means, guys, are we going to have any questions in this unit that have decimals or fractions? No, everything is going to be a what? A whole number. We will eventually get to decimals and fractions, but not this first unit. Got it, guys? So, question. If you ever get a fraction for an answer this unit, are you right or wrong?
Wrong.
Automatically wrong. If you get a decimal for an answer, are you right or wrong? Every answer should always be a positive or negative whole number. Is that understood?
Yeah.
So know right away if you get something that's not, you did something wrong and we got to fix it. So somebody shout out an example for me. What are some examples? Say them out loud. -6, -3, 5, 13, 27, 21. Now there's one more that I want to add. 0. Got to count 0 in it, okay? Then obviously some non-examples. I told you guys 4/5. What else would be a non-example? Shout them out loud. 1/2. 3/8. 1/10. Okay, I'm going to change that to a decimal and do 0.5. 0.4. 0.16. Now I could add negatives to any of those and it's still not an example. Is that understood? So add a negative to the -1/2. Add a negative to that 1/10. And add a negative to that 0.4. It doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative. If it is not a whole number, it is not an integer. Questions? All right, so let's start off with the very basics. I want you to write an integer, so writing integers. Example 1. If I write down 6 degrees above normal, if I write 6 degrees above normal and all I want you to do is write it as an integer, how would you write it? 6. That's it. That's your answer. How else could I write it? There is one other way I could write it that means the same thing. Nope, because -6 means the opposite of 6. No, but that's a really good guess. How else could I write just 6? You don't ever see it this way, but you can write it that way. Because that plus sign means positive, right? You can write either way. I never write the plus sign because the plus sign is assumed. Does that make sense? Right now is not a good time. Wait till we're done with notes, okay, bud? And then I'll let you go. All right, so let's do another example. If I write 2 inches below normal, what's the answer there, everyone? -2, because it's below, it's negative, above is positive. So you have to know what words mean what. Nope, that is the only way you can write negatives. All right, last one, and then we'll move on to the next section. A deposit of $300. Well, we have to know what the word deposit means. If you don't know what the word deposit means, you're not going to be able to tell me whether this is a positive number or a negative number. So what does deposit mean? What's it mean? Nope, it means the opposite of that. So what's the opposite of that? What's the opposite? To get money. And if we're getting money, is that a positive or a negative? So deposit is going to be just 300 or a positive 300. Somebody tell me what the word means as if it was going to be a negative number. What's the opposite of deposit? What's the opposite of deposit? Anyone know? Gray? Withdrawal. So if you see this word here, I might spell it wrong. That means it would be a negative $300. So deposit, positive, withdrawal, negative. Questions on that? All right. Next part, we're going to graph integers. Yes, what is your question? Yep. But we're just talking about just the bank account, so not like the money in your person, on yourself. Does that make sense? Because you still have that money, it's just going into your bank account. So your bank account's going up. Does that make sense? Okay, so when we graph integers, we have to graph it on a number line, is what I mean. So draw a number line. There we go. I don't know how many I went. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 tallies. I want you to label this number line from -5 to 5. So write out this number line for me from -5 to 5. Eventually I'll have class times memorized. All right. So let's go from left to right. So what's this first number here? Then what? Next? 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 Next. Please don't forget that 0. I have students who do it every single year. Do not forget 0. Next. And? Next. 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 Questions on ordering your numbers. Okay, be really, really careful. It's easy to mess up. Now, this part's pretty, yes. Question? 11. Now this next part's pretty simple, guys. It's just wanting you to graph it. So for instance, if I added a little thing, like this is your example, and I'm just going to put like a little bracket here, okay? If I want you to graph 4, -5, and 0, all you have to do is draw a number line just like we did. Make sense? And then all you have to do is plot the point where it goes. So I have a 4. I'm going to put a dot on the 4. That's it. Simple as that. I'm going to put a dot on the -5, and I'm going to put a dot on the 0. So when it says graphing integers, all you're doing is putting a dot on a number line. You draw the number line out. Don't draw more than you have to. Be minimal. It should be pretty basic, though. Questions on that? All right, that's the basics of integers. So are we good on the basics of integers? Is that review for most of us? Maybe, sort of? Okay, so let's go into our next page, which we're going to talk about comparing and ordering integers. Same thing, write the date up top, 8, 28, 20. And we're going to start off with comparing. When I say compare, what do I mean? Perfect. I want my greater than symbols, my less than symbols, or my equal to symbols. Nope, 28. All right, so let's do a few examples. I want to compare 14 and 25. Is 14 greater than, less than, or equal to, everyone? What is it? So you would put a less than symbol. That's all you're doing. If I give you 16 and -6, is it 16 greater than, less than, or equal to -6? Greater than. Last one, if I have -18 and -17, is -18 greater than, less than, or equal to -17? It is less than. Everyone always gets the first two because those are simple. The last one students like to mess up on. So remember, negatives are opposite of positives. The closer the number is to 0, the bigger the number is. The smaller the negative number in your eyes is technically the larger number. Questions on comparing? Yeah. Okay, you think about it because I'm not quite sure where you're going, and then I will answer your question. Last thing we're learning today, guys, is ordering. When I say ordering, I mean from least to greatest or greatest to least. So our first example, we're going to do least to greatest. And I'm going to give you these numbers, -16, 21, 14, -3, -7, 3, 5, and -2. -16, 21, 14, -3, -7, 3, 5, and -2. You need to put them in order from least to greatest. So least meaning the smallest number. What's the smallest number we see, everyone? So what you want to do to make your life easier is you'd write -16 with a comma and cross out that you've used it. Because otherwise you could accidentally skip a number. You're not doing it on purpose, but it happens. So be real careful. So everyone finish that for me. All right, everyone, read it out loud to me. What should we have? Negative 16?
Negative 7, 3, 35, 14, 21.
Excellent. Questions on ordering from least to greatest. Okay, you could also have to order from greatest to least. So here are your numbers. 13, 24, negative 8, 0, negative 4, negative 3, negative 12, and 8. Order those from greatest to least. We ready? No? Almost. Okay. Ready now? All right, let's go over it. Tell me what it is, guys. Go. Excellent. Nicely done, you guys. Questions on any of that? How much of that was review? Probably most of it. Some of it, maybe you needed a little refresher. Okay, so I'm going to stop my recording now because that's all I need to record.